Hey there, bestie. I'm Lori Me, your What to Read Next podcast host. Join me as we dive into exciting new reads that'll have you reaching for your TBR pile in no time. From urban mysteries to spicy romances, we'll explore it all and help you find your next favorite book. So grab a cup of tea, cozy it up, and let's discover some amazing reads together. Hi, Heather. Welcome to What to Read Next podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So happy to be here.
So happy to have you here. So you were a guest back in 2020 before we're in pandemic style. I think we did a bonus episode early in the pandemic, which I'll put in the show notes. It's basically we're like, what are we doing? We're just at home. What are we supposed to be doing?
Talk about Love is Blind. The OG Love is Blind. Oh man.
Like OG, like this is the old, like, oh my gosh. And so
man.
we've been up to since 2020.
Oh gosh, yes. So again, happy to be here. And oh my gosh, lots of changes for sure. So I had a baby and he's now 3. His name's Theo and he's the sweetest. And we moved from Arizona to California. So we're now in San Diego area. So lots of changes, lots of good changes, and yeah. So it's been fun.
You've been reading all the book club books. Can you talk to us about book club chat? What is it all about? And book clubs.
Yep. So definitely all about the book clubs over here. So book club chat, I started back in 2018. Originally, the idea was I tend to personally read a lot of book club fiction. So it was kind of a natural step for me to do that. And also I was writing very technical style journalism. So I wanted to be a little more creative. So yes, I started since 2018, and it's about book reviews. Really, book club questions is kind of my main area. Some book lists and author Q&As, all of it kind of tying back to the book club fiction. So it's been.
So what is it like thinking about book clubs? So like what is it like to either refer it or thinking about like what does book club needs? Like you're like, hey, I've been reading these books. I want to have some bookish friends I want to talk to. What can we expect for a book club as someone who's always wanted to be in a book club, but just never tried for buttons? You're our friend. I am the friend.
Oh my gosh! Oh, too funny. I know it's funny because I've been in a couple, and they've all been kind of different the approach. But I guess what you can expect with what's nice about book clubs, I think one, especially for people who maybe don't read as much as we all do, and who work in the book space, who have podcast content, blogs and all that. It really gets them, okay, I'm for sure going to read this one book this month. So I think that's something that's always a benefit of is how do I get into reading? Well, it kind of holds you accountable in a really great way. And I think also what you can expect is probably to read something even maybe out of your comfort zone. Because a lot of times it'll be sometimes people do polls, but I think most of the time with book clubs, they like to do where everyone gets a turn to pick a book. And ones I've been in the past, it's been good and bad. And sometimes you get everyone reading it and they didn't want to and they're unhappy about it, or they didn't want to read it and you're like, you're supposed to read it. So, there is kind of like, I guess, a little ebb and flow with how it all goes. But in general, it's fun to read in a community because it's funny how when you read a book, I mean, you're really doing something for yourself and enriching yourself or just getting a break from everyday life or learning about something new. But I think what's really great with book clubs is having that community aspect. 'Cause it's like when you watch a movie and you want to talk about it, like, oh, that ending was crazy, and I think that's what's fun with the book club. Everyone reads the same book, so you can all talk about it. 'Cause sometimes, I'll read a book and people will be like, oh, I'm not going to read that book. I'm like, I have no one to talk about it with. So that's why I think is one of the wonderful things with book clubs is being able to have that sense of community with reading.
Yeah. And the other is like rise of celebrity book clubs. We got to talk about those. Like, they're pretty much they're ubiquitous. There's Jenna, there's Reese, there's every celebrity who wants to start their own book club.
Oh my gosh, so many. I had no idea. Anyway, yes, I see so many. I'm like, I didn't know they had one. I didn't even.
It's incorrect. It's like we're readers. Now we got to start a book club. So,
Yeah.
what's your advice for a D-list celebrity who wants to start their own book club? What are the elements of picking a book for book club for them?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good question. Oh, yeah, that's really interesting. So I think something that is good is that, or something that readers want, they kind of want one or two things. I think like I think that they love the debut novels that they wouldn't have known ahead of time, or not ahead of time, but yeah, I guess ahead of time, or even just even when it been introduced to. That's something that I see critiques with some of the bigger ones. That sometimes they feel, well, why are you going back to that author? We all know about that. That's an old book. Why are you? People don't really like that. People like the shiny new. They like the new, but I think they really want to discover new authors. So I would say if there is one that's looking to start one, it's kind of go with the new author, a debut, something that people maybe there's a little buzz about it. Give them that bigger boost. Gosh, it really is such a benefit. I mean, they pick it, and then most of the time it hits the bestsellers list, and I love when it's these books that are so unexpected. So I think some just discovering hidden gems, I think is something people really want.
Yes, I agree. I remember early Say with the books that she was picking were like hidden gems, like the Chanel Queen. And I was like, I love her romance, but I was like, I was not expecting to love her Havana.
Oh yeah, yeah,
It's
that's a
historical
100%.
fiction.
Mm.
The Last Mrs. Parrish. We were like not expecting that book, and yet it was like, holy crap, what am I reading? And now it gets
Yeah,
people. So like those early picks were like such a good picks. Uh, and there's some early episodes of this podcast where I talk about the early picks because they were so good. And I was like
yeah.
loving them. I don't personally love her newer picks because they feel too commercial.
Mhm.
There's a purpose. I understand there's a purpose for her book club because she wants to produce them to other media. And there's a pipeline and now there's a lot of like competition to get her highlight because it does make an instant bestseller. But those hidden gems felt like, oh, I'm discovering something new with everyone else at the same time. We're like learning something new. And
Um,
there's also this sense that like, yes, I'm involved with the book world and I'm aware of like all these books are coming out and there's a
mhm.
lot of attention span being, challenged, but it's still like this early picks were like exciting. Really that
Yes, no, I totally agree. And I see there's comments a lot on Facebook where they miss that about hers and everything. They kind of feel it's not in a dramatic lost its way, but like I said, it's just kind of taking a different approach, which it's really exciting, all the adaptations. But so, obviously there's kind of that mindset of what can we, turn into TV or film. But the hidden gems are so great. I miss, I miss them doing that too. Cause yeah, I haven't been that excited. I used to be, okay, I can read every month because that's, with the book clips, a lot of book clips do follow the celebrity ones. Some might feel pretty much every month that's what they pick. And I feel that that's they're being a little more pickier. I don't know about that one. Like her April pick a lot. We're like, I don't want to read this older book. I didn't read it. Like it's not. I guess maybe necessarily even just being older. It's just people just didn't want to. Just were kind of like, I'm not really that excited about that. I want something hidden gem. I think is what they're
yeah.
thinking. So we need
Yeah.
one to do that. Laura, you just start one. You'll be the celebrity.
But that's why we have a podcast with full recommendations. And we
Exactly.
can hear you for your mood reading taste. What are you feeling?
I love it.
You're our guest, like celebrity host of book clubs. So you're the person who's going to tell us all of the book clubs. And so then we can actually go back to our clubs and say, like, you know what? Heather told me that this is a good book club for us to pick.
Yeah, I love it.
So, Heather, today's picks are actually backlist titles, or we got a front list title, but there's no backlist options because I wanted to offer an opportunity for books that you can find in a library because libraries are important and we can get the picks for free. So, and hopefully these are short wait or no wait at all, or that your friends can actually borrow it. So, tell us a little bit about overall, like what kind of picks you do ended up curating for us.
Yeah, of course. I love this idea when you brought it to me because gosh, so many times some friends will say they want to read a book there. And my friend, she lives in New York, so she does the public library up there. And she's like, it's 100-person wait list. And it's like, people can't buy every book. I mean, books are really, especially if we want to support. I mean, they're very expensive. And so it's hard to you can't just purchase everything that that you want. Especially hardcovers are like almost $40. So it's like, I love this idea of let's talk about books that people can easily get, or even if they do want to purchase, there's a paperback available, and again, yeah, to support the libraries, there'll probably be a ton. So what I did, I was thinking about some authors that I love, and it's funny, a couple of these on the list do actually have new ones coming out, but I think it's great to go back to their older ones, maybe while you wait for the new one, because there probably will be a big a big wait list with that. So I went with, I was trying to do different genres, some kind of, I guess, more contemporary just fiction, and also a little bit of, we got a little bit of literary too. But yeah, I guess to get in the list. So my first one was, so Stephen Rowley is an author that I think people are really well familiar with. People love the Gunkel. The Gunkel, if I'm saying it correctly, was, big hit. His last book was picked for a Jenna pick, The Celebrants. But really, my favorite book of his is a book several years back. I believe it was 2019. Yeah, I believe it was 2019. The Editor. I love it. It's my first book of his, and I just adored it. I thought it was just his perfect combination of where he can write heart and humor in the same page. Where you're it sounds always that cliche where you laugh one minute and you cry next minute, but it really is with him. And it's a really enjoyable story, and has a celebrity component with Jackie Kennedy when she served as the book editor, which I had no idea that even happened. I even had to Google, did that actually happen? And it's just really about, a man just wanting to have a better relationship with his mother. And there's a lot of complications of why their relationship is kind of a bit at odds. And then it's also about the unexpected friendship with Jackie Kennedy. And then it's just a lot of humor. And it's so great. So if you have read his books before, but haven't read that one, highly recommend. Haven't read his books, first one, definitely a wonderful pick.
It is a wonderful book. I really love this. I am fascinated with the Kennedys. Like,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I remember when JFK Jr. died because I was
Oh,
it was
yeah.
the summer before I was going to college, and I remember like the waiting of like, where's the plane?
Yes. Yes. No,
I
I
did
read
get some family. And I was like,
uh
this dates me. I'm old.
No,
So
no, like I was vivid for sure. Yeah, I remember that. I remember my mom talking about it, and just, I mean, gosh, and then it was talking about the
yeah,
Kennedy curse and all that. I
yep,
mean, oh man. Then yeah, you still see. I feel like there's kind of a resurgence of being interested in him and his wife of
yeah,
that era. And I see people talk about like their, like how they. So it's like,
aesthetic, yeah,
yeah, it's just one of those where it's, yeah. I mean, it's been so many years, but it's still just so relevant. The Kennedys and everything. I mean, I feel like they always will be.
yeah,
The next generation, will be too. So no, for
yeah.
sure.
And this is a good entry point to Super Rally. And you can then he has, a healthy like 3 or 4 more books to read afterwards. And he has the Octopus too, which is I think this earlier book.
I
I
didn't
think
read that one. Yeah, I probably
yeah,
should. Yeah.
yeah. So there's like a healthy backlist so you can dive into as a project. So
Yeah, so they're all different, but just all have his really great writing style. So just, yeah, he's just such a special writer. He's definitely one of my favorites. Anytime, and then yeah, it's the Gunkel sequel coming out this summer. So yeah, it's always exciting. It's always like, okay, good. He has a new book coming out. It's gonna be a good year. But definitely check out the older ones for sure.
sorry, what's your next pick?
So my next pick, and I did not do this on purpose, but it's actually a book written by his husband, Byron Lane. And it came out in 2020. So I think it got kind of, obviously overshadowed with, that crazy year. But I really enjoyed It's called A Star is Born, and his debut novel. And it's a fictional take when he served as Carrie Fisher's assistant. So it's not an autobiography or not memoir. So he definitely emphasized it was fictional, but still, of course, taking it from his real life experience. And it's funny because he's married to Stephen, and they have a similar style, that heart and humor as well. But of course, it's very distinct. He's a different writer, and I think something that really stuck out to me. So both of those can have a celebrity aspect that I think make the stories kind of one that kind of take you away, and just like kind of more fantasy in a way from definitely from my everyday everyday life. But I think what really stuck to me with that book was about, I think we all had a job, whether it's your first job or job in midlife, that just really stuck with you. Even if it's not one that you stayed with very long, it's just something that you learned a lot. Not necessarily it was a great job. I mean, it could have been, but I just think we all had that job where we just remember it so vividly. Like for me, it was my job, like right out of college, working in a newspaper was nuts and crazy. And it's been so long. I barely worked at that job, under 2 years, and it stuck with me. So that's something that it's really about a man, like, trying to find out his own inner growth. What does he want to do with life? And also the unexpected friendship. So it's still a little similar with Jackie Kennedy, kind of that unexpected friendship, but two distinct stories. And anyway, another really great thing. And it's a great read for summer.
Oh my gosh, I'm bumping that up for sure.
It's
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a good
Yeah,
one.
like first jobs and like there's it's a rite of passage. Your first job is not
Yeah.
supposed to be the long-term one. You know?
I think you'll like that one too because of the celebrity assistant. It
Yeah,
really dives into that whole crazy world. It's a little bit like pre how it is now, obviously with like social media, but still just it still was nuts back then too.
yeah. It's like there's something to say. Like if you have a job that's coveted by others, and you're like, and you're supposed to love it, but you hate it because you're
Yeah.
doing hard work. Like you're not doing like the real thinking, the real work. You're just doing grunt work. It's
Yeah.
this dichotomy because everyone wants your job, but yeah, you're like, but this is miserable.
Yeah, exactly. And this should be glamorous and or like it's like glamorous adjacent, but it's like you're not really on like
It's
the
not there.
glamour side, or even like you're being paid well. It's like this still isn't great, It's like so it's really him trying to kind of figure out really what he wants. I think it's just something like, yeah, like we all can relate to having that job that you're just like was a grind. And then of course, if anyone, Star Wars fans, just knowing that he did work with Carrie Fisher, and even though it's fictional, you still see how it's,
Yeah.
based in reality. So I thought that was really good. So that one, so I wanted to kind of bump that up in case people missed that one.
Oh, I'm bumping that out for sure. So, what's
Right.
your next one? I think it's Jordan
So,
Peele, right? There's the next one, or
let's see. I think, or yeah, or I guess I have Black Cake
oh,
by
okay, let's
oops,
do that one.
Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkinson. Am I
Yeah.
pronouncing correct? Okay. See, I write so much. I don't do as much of the talking. So sometimes I'm like, I feel like I can mispronounce. So I apologize if there are any. So this is a popular pick. I believe it was a Read with Jenna pick a couple years ago. It was just one of those stories that really stuck with me. And I think it's one of those, it might be bypassed you because I have this where there are books I feel like, I don't know why I haven't read yet, but I just didn't. For instance, Remarkably Bright Creatures, I haven't read that
Yeah.
one. I feel like I don't know why I haven't. So it's one where I'm sure a lot of readers, listeners are familiar with Black Cake, but if you haven't read it, highly recommend. It's really an interesting story about family. There's mystery. It's a lot about legacy and kind of learning more about your parents' past. And really a lot of it is food kind of bonds us all. And like, food is kind of part of a family's legacy too. So yeah, I think it's a really well done one. It really kind of transports you away too. It's very vivid sense of place. So definitely a good one. If it's one of those you've heard of, but you hadn't read, I would definitely check it out for sure.
I am bumping that one up because I actually Dennis picks don't match with me the for my
Yeah.
days, but this one does feels like actually can work. Just like Deliverance can work. Like it's like we have very different book tastes, but I'm like, oh, maybe this one will work for me.
Yeah, I think sometimes with those kind of with her picks, they definitely can go like really in the weeds with literary fiction, or it
Yeah,
could be that kind of more accessible contemporary fiction,
yeah,
things, where it kind of crosses that genre into literary, but then it
yeah.
goes into romance and it goes into even a mystery a little bit. And so I think those were always really, really appealing, more accessible when people might not want to just hear like, lyrical literary where you're like, nothing happened in this book, but I'm
Yeah.
supposed to think
I
that
I something about me is that I love bad writing. I love writing that I do not like flowery writing. I don't like this sentence so pretty. I'm like, no, give me the worst writing possible, but give me a good story. Like
I love that.
I am fresh for that. That's why I love Zodiac Academy. Zodiac Academy is not gonna win the prize of any type of writing. The writing itself is bad, but the story, it's so engaging that I'm like, yes, give me more. I'll read 1,200 pages of nothing.
I totally know what you mean. It's somewhat similar. I just read the sequel to or excuse me, the Mystery Guest by Nita Prose,
Yeah,
and I even put that in my review, and I was like, gosh, I hope this isn't like rude, but I was just like, this isn't groundbreaking, but this was just enjoyable. It's like cozy mystery. I don't really tend to read those, and I just was like, this
yeah,
is just a nice, palate cleanser. So I totally know what you mean. I think you're doing it right, Laura, because literary fiction sometimes it sticks with you and you're like, I don't want it to. I want it to go because that was intense.
I realized this as I was talking. I was like, I had a pretty traumatic childhood and traumatic life, like early life. And so I can personally, in my writing, I look for what it got me through most of your trauma was through my five. So if it tells
Yeah.
you like what I gravitate is not the Babysitter's Club, it's not Nancy Drew, it's through Valley High, which is a soapy, out
Yeah,
there,
man, I love it.
incredibly problematic, age of the 90s. And I've translated to romance and to like cozy mysteries and things that are like actually like they're fun, they're frothy, they're
They just make you feel
sparkles.
good too. I think you're doing it so right. I think so many. I mean, I think we all have that where we're just like, I just want to be taken away with the book. Like, I want
Yeah.
it. Like, I don't want because gosh, there are some books that just again, like I said, like stick with you. And you don't want it. Like, oh man, like I don't know. I don't even know. I feel like I don't even want to think about the last one that did that. Especially some of these pandemic ones were really rough. So
I yeah, and so I think it's like everyone has their own story and everyone
yeah,
finds their own comfort. But like if that's not your genre, that's fine. There's
a
nothing wrong with
hundred
it.
percent.
But it's like embrace what you love. And like that's what my 40s are for. I embrace the really soapy, the really trashy. What you consider trash is my job. It's it's my food. It's my meat. It's for me.
I love it. Yeah. No, 100%. And I think too, yeah, I kind of go back to that book club question. It's like, those are 100% book club books too. I mean, it's just what people want to read and stuff. Does
Yeah.
not, I think if you read a synopsis and you're wondering what happens next, I mean, you're already on a step to a good book club book. Sometimes you read synopsis, you're like, I don't care. Then that's not going to be good. But if you don't have any questions as you read, then it's like, okay, or just knowing that this is gonna be an enjoyable read is I mean, that's fun to talk about too, and sometimes those kind of books people can be mad about, and that's a good distinction too, because you have people debating like, "Well, I didn't like that part," and all that, so
Yeah.
for
So
sure. No.
awesome. All right. So we got the Jodi Pico. It's just, she's like like a good old book club person.
We got I know what's a list without her, right? I know I people have their opinions on her, but most people or not most, a lot of people do love them, but some people get frustrated. She's popular, popular for a reason. And so I did this one, The Book of Two Ways, another one that came out a couple years ago. It's kind of controversial and unfortunately how it is like it's very spoilery, but there were a lot of opinions. And it's funny, I'm not sure if this happens with your recommendations, but sometimes when I recommend a book, people always get mad about it. So they were really frustrated about that book in a lot of ways, and a lot of ways, look at two ways. Because and I was like, well, I didn't write it. I just thought it'd be, I'm not the author here. I'm just saying I thought it'd be interesting. I guess to say why people are frustrated is it's not a spoiler, but it kind of goes toward the ending is what people talking and stuff. And I think these are the good books because sometimes like those are the ones that get people talking. And I think even if you get I'm not trying to be like, oh, you should read a book that annoys you, but I think a book that has people talking is one that's a great one for book clubs that bring about a big opinion. I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I think this is one that does. And so this book is about a woman that, and to interrupt myself, she's still like a really funny reel on this one. So I would highly recommend like looking at Jodi Picoult's social media because that's what made me, I think, thinking about this book again. So what it is there's a plane crashed and a woman, you think she'd go back to her husband, her daughter, but no, she goes to Egypt to see her ex-boyfriend because it's a very big component of it is exploring what if she would have gone this path instead of the path she chose, a safe kind of suburban path. What if she would have stayed being a researcher of Egyptian history. And so just a very unique book, especially she goes a lot into Egyptian history. I do feel it goes on and on a little too much. I think it could have used an edit, but then also I think about it, how many mainstream books are you going to read about that? Like not really a lot. So, I also appreciate that there's a lot of history or a lot of research with it. And so, yeah, I think it's a good one to just kind of get people talking, and also it does make you always think about that what if. And I always think that those are good discussion books. Like, what if I would have taken this path, or if I would have stayed with this person, how would have life turned out? And not very many times you get to actually live the what if. And I thought that's what made this one unique.
That sounds good. Yeah. I like this. But at the same time, like, it's going to make me mad. Oh, we're going to see.
It might not. It might not. So I feel like it might. You might. It didn't make me mad, and I actually in the it's funny. I put in the comments. I go, and again,
Well,
well, it's like,
so there's one thing that makes me mad, and this is like my biggest pet peeve, and it's when they kill the character on the final chapter. Like
oh, okay,
the
yes,
character gets killed in the final chapter,
yeah.
and there's like no closure or any specific
Oh,
things.
100%. I know, like. I will say
That's
that's
ultimate. I am mad because you're not letting me grieve the loss of the character. Like,
no, that happened. Very popular book. I don't know if people read it. People were really mad about that, and I had recommended that book, even knowing that happened, and I think people were kind of like mad about it. And I was like, yeah, that was kind of lame. Like they shouldn't
yeah,
do.
I've
So that
read,
does not happen. Yeah.
I've read, yeah. As long as they don't kill off,
No, none of that. Yeah, because I would have been mad about that too.
yeah,
Um,
I'm not thinking about at least 3 instances that people have been dead.
and I know it's sort of disappointing. Like you said, you're not allowed to agree. You're like, okay, I was on this whole journey, and that's a bummer
And I want
ending.
to
And now what
grieve.
am I
Like,
supposed to
what am I
do?
supposed to deal with my feelings? You gotta help me process that.
Yeah,
Like,
like, if you're gonna go that path, it would have been good to do earlier. So then the other characters, I don't know, process their grief and grow and evolve. But then it just happens, and everyone's sad, and
yeah,
that's just Bummer City. One of those ones that stick with you're like, go away. I don't want to think about this.
yeah, right. So let's move on to your final list, which is a friend list title, but you can also get the backlist title too. So and both are excellent titles to pick.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we can definitely talk about both. So Angie Kim, it's a wonderful, wonderful author, and so her book last year, Happiness Falls, is a fantastic pick. It's one of those I really could see. If you're on a plane, you want a book that's just you're gonna engage all the time. Long plane rides, a perfect read for that. It's about a missing father. So there's so much more that goes on with that, and it covers language, pandemic, racism, and sibling dynamics, disability. There's so much going on with this one. So it was very impactful. And, it's one of those impactful reads that I felt was done with such care because sometimes I feel there's that, a lot of trauma in stories and it can just be, just really like sometimes kind of grotesque with how it's presented. But I thought that she was very respectful of all the subject matter. She puts in her author's note, why she covers certain topics. And so that one's very, very well done. And as you mentioned, her previous book, Miracle Crate Bear, another one that's very serious, and that one's actually a little more of a courtroom drama. So if you're kind of more drawn to that, that's, yeah, highly recommend. Again, her books cover numerous topics and they really make you think. But of course, I have to really emphasize they were handled with care because I don't always think these kind of tough subject matters are. And I think she's very respectful of it. So
Oh,
yeah, but like I said, you read the heavy, maybe have the Emily Henry's right as juror, have a cozy mystery, have one of the because it does is it's heavy. So I
hey,
could leave on a happy note. So we could always add a fun happy note. I
yeah.
need to read some more like lighter stories.
Chances are after this episode, there'll be a cozy mystery recap of like 5 cozy mysteries to pick up after the for Pile
Yeah,
Cleanser. So
exactly.
I'll make sure I'll have that ready for you the next episode. So
100%. It's like, all right, that's a heavy one. So yeah, good idea.
like, did like here are my book club picks and here's my Pile Cleanser that I gotta do.
Yeah, yeah.
This was so great. So tell us where we can find you online. Tell us about the blog.
Of course. Oh gosh, and thank you for having me. This is so much fun. And yes, so you can find me at bookclubchat.com and then you can always shoot me an email at Heather at bookclubchat.com again. And also I'm on Instagram and all that, but really like email is a wonderful way to reach out if you need recommendations or if you want original book club questions. But I love when book clubs reach out to me and ask for that. So yeah, don't hesitate to reach out. So perfect. Again, I appreciate this opportunity. It was so much fun chatting.
It was so much fun chatting. Thank you, Heather, for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining me on this episode of the What to Read Next podcast. If you enjoy our bookish conversations and want more recommendations, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Also, head on over to the What to Read Next blog for a list of books mentioned in today's show. Happy reading!